We are MakilalaTV, the first Filipino-American TV talk show in the New York metro area. Get to know us as we talk to the community leaders, innovators, advocates, and emerging artists who affect Filipino-American life.
Four Filams were nominated for the 2019 James Beard Award, basically the Oscars of the food world. And it makes me wonder, how has the Filipino food movement changed just this past decade? Since college, I have joined Kamayan parties where you only eat with your hands, supported Filipino food pop-up events at hole-in-the-wall venues, tested mouth-watering recipes from Filam cookbooks, and ate during New York City's Filipino Restaurant Week. But what is it about this movement that brings the community together? And how do these Filam leaders help ignite the fire to start other small and international businesses? I, Rachelle Ocampo, am joined with my co-host, Cristina Pastor. Unfortunately, Jen is not able to make it at this episode on MakilalaTV. And we welcome our guest speakers who are those Firestarters and Foodies who help promote companies and brands that lift the Filam community even higher. As a self-identified Firestarter, our first guest speaker is Mike Ang. He is an entrepreneur with over 20 years of international business experience. He has a civil engineering degree and a master's in business administration. He has worked in the fields of mass transit, rolling papers, media, and entertainment. And his agency, Planet X, is currently representing Tanduay rum in the USA. Tanduay is currently the largest selling rum in the world and is poised for even more success here in the US. Our next guest speaker is Joann Canosa, who is a Texan-born, Cali, New Jersey raised Pinay, who has resided in New York City and London for over a decade. By day, she manages a markets trade department at Barclays Investment Bank, where she is also the COO of Barclays Reach, an employee affinity group that provides employee support for disability and mental health and wellness needs of their employees, and the COO lead for the Barclays Embrace Asian Professional Forum. After opening and owning her first restaurant in Brooklyn, Joann also runs Maganda, formerly known as Bangad and Bougie, a Filipino pop-up and events company, and is in sales and marketing for Send Friend, a remittance company focused on the Philippines, and Mansi, the world's first premium calamansi juice drink, which, side note, it pairs perfectly well with Tanduay rum. So Mike, let's get right into it. What does it actually mean to be a fire starter?
Well, to me, what that really means is to be somebody that's a catalyst for the creation of things that are much bigger than the sum of its parts.
Okay.
And you know, going out there and having some good ideas that are meaningful, impactful, that can really help benefit society, and going after that, and then just trying to do all you can to make a fire start and then make it burn.
I feel like that we have so many great ideas in the Filipino community. Like, I hear so many great initiatives and things that are going on, but how did you actually get to the point of actually doing action from all those things that you started?
I mean, really what it started out with is really just kind of having an idea and thinking about the best way to kind of put networks together of people that I know, of organizations that I know, to really kind of make those things actually happen. And it sounds simpler than it really is, but it took a pretty long time. Like I'm saying, probably, you know, in the intro you said I've been in international business for like 20 years.
Yeah.
It pretty much takes 20 years to build some of these networks that are powerful enough to actually make something a reality. Because you can never really make an impact unless you actually have power. and I don't mean that in the selfish way. I mean that in a way that is very practical. You know, you can't be impactful unless you actually are in a position that you can actually provide influence.
Yeah.
And it's taken me a while to build those, but in my very diverse career, I've been able to build a lot of networks and a lot of really interesting relationships that have really helped move all these different things that I'm working on. And at this point in my career, what's interesting is everything sort of ties into each other.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of plugging these things together and finding ways to make them work.
So speaking of networks, you actually know the other guest speaker, Joanne.
I do.
How did you guys get connected in this whole world of Filipino community?
Yeah, we're actually coming up to our 1-year Friendsniversary.
Ah,
we met
yes.
at the consulate during a launch of Filipino Restaurant Week, which I was invited to on the back of representing the Filipino cuisine at World Fair. So Tanduay is a sponsor of Restaurant Week, and we had met and our energies matched, and the rum is an official sponsor of Barclays Center, which
Yes.
my bank co-owns.
Do you also consider yourself a fire starter like Mike is?
I do. To piggyback off of his view on being a fire starter, you know, you can make a drop in the ocean, but you can make such big waves collectively as a community. So the fire starters in New York, in the Bay, in London, in the Philippines, we're all trying to get together to make an impact, and we're trying to start with the younger generation.
Yes.
So I know Mike has this big idea planned in the fall for a creative economy conference where we're inviting Filipino fire starters to come and speak and really be mentors to the younger generation.
I'm curious, Mike, about Tanduay because
Sure.
I remember Tanduay as a drink in the Philippines
Sure.
where people gather at the sari-sari store and they make inom, right?
Yeah, yep.
And they get
Yep.
drunk. If they wanted something
That's
stronger
usually what
than beer,
happens with
if they wanted
Tanduay.
something stronger than beer, they get Tanduay. And probably my uncles and my cousins got drunk on that. So, what is the impetus for bringing Tanduay to the U.S.?
It's excuse me. The real impetus really comes from something that's very, I think, important for our culture, which is mainstreaming our culture in a way where we can really start bringing that mainstream power back to our own country to actually affect socioeconomic change. That's kind of how I view Tanduay's role within this ecosystem of Filipino empowerment and this new come up that's happening right now with Filipino food movement and everything. It's all part of the same piece of the puzzle, right? It's all about trying to say, okay, what can we do to showcase what is very Filipino yet very international and something that is surprisingly high quality, surprisingly, a lot of these things people don't associate with the Philippines.
That's
The
right,
things
yeah.
that we get involved with Tanduay Rum, when we brought it here as a partner of the Brooklyn Nets and Barclays Center, and then later on as a partner of the Golden State Warriors, these were big moves, but these are calculated in the sense that partnering with the NBA gives us the world's biggest stage. I think basketball is definitely an international sport, and it's something that I think as far as most of the major sports, I feel like this is probably the sport that's most in tune with pop culture, kind of that hip hop culture, kind of that cool culture that's driving the trends with music, with fashion. The same way, that's what the Philippines has been doing for a long time here in the United States. So it's important.
That's a very, I find that a very masculine imagery. Are you trying to, well, Tanduay is a liquor. It's a form of liquor.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's associated with the masculine imagery, basketball, sports. Are you trying to also package it for women?
Yeah,
To appeal to women?
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
sure. So to speak to that, the real power of Tanduay is being the #1 selling rum in the world gives us a very broad platform. It's a very broad platform, but it's also a very elevated platform. So what we can do with that and the strength in that is bringing on to that platform other causes and other people that don't really have the ability or have that voice to come out there and make a splash. So we can take like women empowerment groups and different people onto our platform and support what they do through bringing liquor for their events, through sponsoring different things that they're doing, and that's something we've already done. We've done events with Google for girls leadership. We've done a lot of things where we've supported women's charities. We've supported recently a STEM science charity. So we do a lot of things that sort of run counter, I think, to what most people would expect of a liquor company. But that's because this is what's going to be needed in this day and age to be an authentic brand in a space where authenticity, I think, is missing, and multiculturalism and heritage. Those messages are kind of diluted. So when you have the ability to really bring those to a bigger stage, then I think it's your socioeconomic responsibility and moral responsibility when you have something this big to do something good with it.
Yeah. And so speaking on that, I know, Joanne, you're working on a number of projects. Is there one that you wanted to share that speaks upon that, like leveraging the community?
Yeah, sure. And on the back of Mike's talking about making the Filipino culture mainstream, I mean, the late Anthony Bourdain had mentioned that Filipino food is becoming mainstream, and I think that's why our partnership works. A lot of the networking and the community building is around food and drink. So for Tanduay to partner with Maganda, it's just, it makes sense. And in terms of what my platform is doing for the community, the reason why I built Maganda is to really highlight women empowerment. And in May, it's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yes.
And I'm working with Pinay's in the tri-state area to kick off the first wellness festival, where we're giving back to the indigenous community and the women in the Philippines, as well as the younger generation.
And Tanduay is a sponsor of that event.
Yes, exactly. And it's under my grassroots organization called Wellness Beyond Borders.
But the Tanduay is the biggest selling rum company in the world. Not a lot of Filipinos know that.
Not a lot of people know that.
So why is that message not resonating with the community?
It actually is. We use that as one of our biggest selling points. But at the same time that we can say that, I think what's more important to people when they hear that is, okay, well, it's why is it the largest selling rum brand in the world?
Is it the largest
why?
selling?
Why have I never heard of it? Why is this whatever?
Yeah.
And it's really been isolated to our region for such a long period of time. So coming here to the United States is kind of like a very Filipino story, right? We come here to the United States and then we build our life here, and we find a way to really make it here. It's very Filipino, but it's also very American at the same time. That hustle, that drive, and we think by doing that and showing why we deserve to be the #1 rum in the world, people are really going to say, "Wow, yeah, we'd love to be on your platform as well, because you guys are doing such amazing things. The people you're hanging out with are the people that we want to hang out with. Things that you're doing are things we want to do." So we want to give power to not just being #1 selling rum brand in the world, but actually doing something about it.
Actually, my curious question is, why aren't the Filipino celebrities promoting it?
Well, that's
I don't know. Maybe it's in your lineup.
To be seen. we have a few things that are kind of ongoing.
That's right.
We've had a lot of interactions here with the Filipino community. A lot with the consulate, with the Department of Tourism. We've sponsored the Filipino Restaurant Week. A lot of the Filipino chefs, celebrity chefs, do represent our product. And they definitely bring it to their events that they have. It's represented in their restaurants. So we are starting. This is kind of a grassroots movement, kind of. It's so funny because it's the world's biggest rum. But at the same time, to build the authentic platform that we want, I think we really have to engage people at a level where you can really build that true, authentic, organic following.
And I feel like that, Joanne, you're like the perfect example of how Tanduay has been able to support and leverage community support, basically with Maganda and your other projects.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate the friendship and the partnership, and not only my platform is being raised by the brand, but we're also helping other Filipino fire starters locally, like our friend Charles Medinilla, founder and
we
owner of
love
Monsi.
Yeah. Hey, Charles.
We actually worked at the same bank together, and so he's also a fellow Filipino in finance. We're partnering.
It's honestly so, when I see the Monsi drink in these stores, and I'd see where it's distributed from, I was like, yes, Jamaica Queens, represent New York.
Queens.
But yeah, no, he's been incredible trying to outreach there, not just the Filipino community, but all over.
Yeah, it's great to see our products mainstream.
Joann, did you start up a pop-up Filipino restaurant?
Yeah, so I opened up my brick and mortar in Bushwick Taco Company, and stepped out and wasn't really ready to open up another brick and mortar.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's so hard, especially now that the city has raised a minimum wage to $15. A lot of restaurants are shuttering. I sit on the National Restaurant and Bar Association.
So how is the Filipino food movement fueling both your energies with Tanduay and with your other activities?
Yeah, it's incredible to see fellow Filipino restaurants doing what they do. I know Mike and I have a big relationships with the industry out in the Bay. My uncle just opened up a Filipino Hawaiian restaurant out there, and we're trying to kick off Filipino Restaurant Week in San Francisco. I'm working with my buddy Omar Shaw, who owns 5 Filipino restaurants in London, and working with the consulate over there to kick off Restaurant Week. So I think in New York, we're really amazing fire starters, but we're not, we don't want to just build up the platform here. We're really reaching out to our friends and family and network to help continue the fire.
Yeah, but here in New York, what's fascinating is, so last year we were sponsors of the Filipino Restaurant Week here. Yeah. This year we are also going to be a major sponsor of the Restaurant Week. My agency, Planet X, we ran the social media and the content creation for last year, and we were the ones analyzing the metrics of the actual Restaurant Week. What was really interesting to note...
What did you find out running the metrics?
What's actually the most interesting thing for last year is that majority of the people that went to visit the Filipino restaurants last Restaurant Week last year were not Filipino.
Oh,
so they were all brought in.
Wait, how
by
do you even measure that? Do they just make tallies when people come in?
No, it was basically based on who was basically it was based on our interviews with the guys who own the stores, and then also when you looked at our Instagram followers, you could see the shift of people who were really not Filipinos that were all of a sudden liking all this food and posting pictures of themselves at these various restaurants, trying all these things.
Is that good?
It's great. So I mean, that's a good sign for the Philippines and our
the
movement.
Filipinos,
and also the business owners, because it just gets so saturated. You can't just be expecting all the Filipinos in the community to just eat there. You need other people.
And the good part, the most beautiful part is really we're able to share our culture, which is an amazing thing.
Yes.
Because our culture is one of the most diverse and, in my opinion, fun cultures there is out there.
Yes.
Is your rum available in Filipino restaurants?
It's available in the Filipino restaurants that serve alcohol, most of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not all of them serve alcohol.
Yeah,
though.
that's right.
But what's great about even walking into Jeepney in Maharlika that's owned by our friend Nicole, a lot of the patrons are non-Filipinos. So to see that, we're pretty proud.
That's right.
We're also partnering with our friend Jello, who just opened up a speakeasy in Koreatown and launching a few Filipino pop-ups there where a lot of non-Filipino patrons go as well. So it's really exciting to see that our food and our drinks and our culture is becoming more mainstream.
What I know, when I was following Tanduay USA on Instagram, I noticed that I always see the hashtag distinctly Filipino. So what makes a product distinctly Filipino?
Well, that's one of the hashtags that we chose. What people don't know about Tanduay, because most people have never even heard of it when they've seen it, is that it's actually aged in Kentucky bourbon barrels. So we buy our Kentucky bourbon barrels from the United States, and we ship them to the Philippines where they're aged in the Philippines. And there's, if you go to the actual facility in the Philippines, in Laguna, you'll see it's just full of these barrels of rum. It's just crazy. There's so many of them. And everything there is produced in the Philippines.
Oh.
It is, and Tanduay has been such a big part of the Philippines culture for such a long time. Like you said, people remember
Yes.
it in different ways. There's probably some good memories.
In many
probably,
different ways.
You know, yeah. Some good memories.
In many happy
Yeah,
ways.
exactly. Some happy ones
Yeah.
and all in
That's
between.
right. Yeah. So
but,
which country sells the most?
the Philippines.
Aside from the Philippines, which international country?
Really, actually, until about 2 years ago, it hadn't been widely exported.
Ah, okay.
So
Wow.
if you look at the actual numbers, really, it's United States now is our fastest growing market.
Okay.
No, I really feel like that's something to be proud of. And, Filipinos are known for many things, a lot of things that we are proud of. But I feel like that there needs to be more of a push for other things that we should also look up to, like
I agree.
like Tanduay rum. Do you feel that same way? And like,
Yeah, no, I always have said this to people that I know, that in the Philippines culture is so diverse and so multi-talented that to say that we are known worldwide for overseas Filipino workers or nurses, or call centers in the Philippines, is to really only touch the surface of what it is that we are as a culture, because we are actual drivers of culture. And a lot of these things in the fashion industry, in the music industry, in the lifestyle industry, cooking and all these amazing things, all of these things, a lot of people don't realize the things that we really love about pop culture, and a lot of these things have been heavily influenced by the Filipinos, who, that generation of Filipinos that kind of were born here or moved here like a couple decades ago, and then became part of the MTVs and the Viacoms and all these different fashion brands and tech brands, venture capital, all these things. There are powerful Filipinos that are driving a lot of that, and no one really realizes that. But that's the power that we have now to unite as Filipinos, as a Filipino community, and say, how can we all help each other? And that's actually something that's starting to happen, I think, for the first time that I've seen ever, is people are starting to come out of the woodwork say,
people are definitely
how can I help
more
you?
collaborative.
How can I help you? That's even how I ended up on this show, because I met Rachelle through the thing, and here I am at the show. But really what it is exactly that.
Yes,
How
people
can
are very
we
willing.
how can we partner with each other and use the powers that we have to help each other? Because that's the only way we're really going to affect the change we want.
So I want to also touch base with Joanne about Maganda. You shared a little bit about what you do and what it's for. Where do you see it like 5 years from now?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now I'm leveraging off of pop-ups and festivals that are happening in New York. I'm also going to be a vendor at World Fair again, which is owned by the same company that runs LIC Food and Flea and Astoria Food and Flea. So they pick 1 or 2 vendors per country to represent, and it's right outside Citi Field, which is weird for me because I'm a Yankee fan. But Charles is going to be there selling his Monsi. Also working with Jello, as mentioned, who formerly worked at Jeepney. And now has his own space in Koreatown to do monthly upscale kamayans.
Yes.
What will you be offering?
Yeah, so I am
Maganda,
sourcing.
Well, we can definitely find out.
Stay
soon.
tuned.
But yes, we definitely want to check out all of your partners, all the people that you've been able to work with and also collaborate with. I feel like it's incredible that we're able to all support each other.
Yeah.
And not have that crab mentality of like, she's
Yes.
doing too well. So yes, I love to collaborate with you both in future projects. But we do have to begin closing the episode. So I'd like to first ask you, Mike, you shared with me earlier your life motto, strength does not come from winning. Can you quickly let me know, like, what do you mean by that?
Sure. For me, that's something that I really hold very near and dear to my heart, just because, to build my career to where it's been right now, I've had to go through a lot of failures. And I think failures really are, at the end of the day, are kind of what makes us stronger and are kind of what allow us to level up in life. And I'm not talking about business, but
Level
in life
up.
in general.
Yes.
And I think leveling up is important, and challenging yourself is important, because if you're not failing, that means you're not trying.
Got it. And then for Joanne, your life motto simply is do not judge others. Let go of the idea of perfection. Let yourself be flawed, and don't apologize for being broken. Can you let me know quickly about what you think about that?
Sure. So do not judge others is actually a sign that's up at my friend's business. It's a dessert museum in Makati. That's opened up by Mike and Dakota, who just got married. Congratulations. And it's really about just being kind to yourself, creating a safe space for yourself, letting yourself make mistakes, and to just give yourself a pat on the back, because you're doing the best that you can.
You are. I love you.
I have to give myself a pat on the back all the time, because I'm my worst critic. My parents have been super supportive, and they've allowed me to do what I do, but really just to appreciate yourself more, and just let yourself be flawed, because you're perfect in your worst and best version of yourself.
Love it. So thank you again, Mike and Joanne,
Thank you for having
joining us. You may learn more about their adventures by following Mike on Instagram at Mangastermind and at Tanduay USA. And you can follow Joanne on her Instagram at Josie Canosi and at Heart of Plating. I wanted to also take this time to thank our founder, our co-producer and lead co-host, Cristina Pastor.
Okay. Oh my God.
This is going to be her last taping.
It is.
I just got chills.
This year, since she will be moving out of the country
Me
with
too.
her husband, Renee. She'll always be part of Makilala TV. We're going to put her on the advisory board so she doesn't leave forever. But we love you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank
Can
you.
I hold your hand?
Thanks, Rachelle. and
But
thanks,
yeah, seriously,
Jen, yes.
thank you so much for everything that you've done. We'll definitely email and
Definitely
everything while
will
you're
miss
away.
Makilala.
But thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we have something for you, just a little cake from Victor and Joel,
Oh
who
my
does
God,
our hair and
sweet
makeup
from Ali.
and our flowers.
Thank you.
Thank you
Should
so
I blow?
much. Yes, yes, yes.
Make a wish.
Okay.
Make a wish. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yay.
And we just found out we have the same birthday, December 7th.
Yeah, that's right.
So
How
we're
weird is
celebrating
that,
it across the country.
Thank you.
Okay, so again, maraming salamat to our Makilala TV team, Jen and Cristina, and of course to all of you, our viewers, for your continued support. Thank you.